Hi, this is Rebecca from Storyteller Wool, and we're going to be going over punch needles today. So I have in front of me a full set of the Oxford punch needles. They go from the smallest at 1/8 inch loop up to a 1/2 inch loop. Now Oxford needles come in both a regular and a fine, and there can be a lot of confusion about this. So let's look at this chart. So if I take my number 8 is a 1/2 inch loop, and I can purchase it in either a regular or a fine. Now, a fine does not mean I'm creating a fine line. This is 2 rows punched with the fine, and here are 2 rows punched with the regular. The regular holds a bulky weight rug yarn. The fine will hold your sweater weight, your worsted weight yarns. I like to use needlepoint yarns in my fine needles. So don't be confused that fine does not mean fine line. It's the kind of yarn you're using. Now you can double up this yarn and put it in here, and Storyteller wool rug yarn is 4-ply, so you could divide it in half and put it in here. So there's a lot of crossover with these needles. It's just a lot of it comes down to preference. You have knitters who are just say, hey, my stash is all full of worsted weight, this is what I want to do, even though they could double it up and use it in here. Now the exception to the fine line is when we get down to here, to our mini and our mini with heels. So our mini is our number 14, and our mini with heels is our number 13. These are just the nicknames for them. So these guys, they're such fun needles. They create these really low, I mean, can you see that? I mean, just this really nice little loops. So I love these needles because I have a background in needlepoint. So, I mean, the 14 was, I believe, the second needle I bought. So let me show you some work you can do with these smaller needles. So let's look at this piece. Now, there's no way we could get this level of detail with our regular needle. Look at the whiskers and the detail in the back. So all the slightly raised areas are done with the 13 because it's a little bit higher. And then the 14 is the background. So we get a lot more detail. This is a fun piece. This is a 3-dimensional piece that I created for my son who said he wanted to summon rainbows. So this is what we came up with so he could do that. And now, this is an example of the different yarns you can use. This was a tremendously slippery, I would say even a sock weight yarn. So I had to double it up. I used the 13 on this piece. I doubled it up in my needle using 2 strands at once. It was so hard to punch with. It was slipping out. It was bubbling up. But a really beautiful yarn. Don't give up. Just slow down. You can make it work. Now, in general, the best yarns to use are your coarser yarns, and that's where your rug yarn comes in. When we talk about rug yarn, which is our center one right here, rug yarn is very coarse. Like I always say, rub it under your chin. If you think it would make a terrible sweater, it's going to make a wonderful yarn to punch with. So on this little sampler piece here, and the one that kind of goes against the rule, this soft fleece, usually a softer yarn will not punch very well, but this actually punches very nicely. Jersey knit, love the way that punches. Now here's some acrylics here. I mean, look, you can get some beautiful acrylic yarns, but they are so soft. Those loops, they want to flop over, where our rug yarn has these nice upright loops. So I would use these sparingly. You can't apply heat to them when we steam our work at the end. And you need to spread them out a little bit, and they flop. But again, if it's the right yarn for your project, and then you can make it work, but just know that you're gonna need to slow down and maybe space things out a little bit more. This is strips of yarn, or of wool right here. This is a more raw spun yarn. I really enjoyed punching with that. So, and this is just sort of a blend. So there's lots of different yarns you can use. If you can thread it through the needle, you can use it. If it's falling out of your needle, double it up. But just know rug yarn, that really is, we're doing rug punch. So rug yarn really does work nicely. Let's talk about heights. So our most common needle is often the number 10, the number 10 regular. So this was punched with the number 10 in this recessed area, and the rest is the number 9. Number 9 is 3/8 inch, 10 is a 1/4 inch. Now, as you can see, when I go up in just one size, there's not a lot of difference. You can't really see that this is raised. So if you would like to get a nice raised effect, I would recommend skipping a needle. So punch with the 10 and the 8. So when we do that, so look at this. So this back is the number 10 regular was my background, so a 1/4 inch loop. Number 8 for the ornaments, which is my 1/2 inch loop. And you can definitely see that these are raised. You can see it even better in person. But so my Joy pillow, we can see the difference. Now, if you really want to see a big difference in height, that's when we flip our work. And I think this is super fun. So what I did on this piece is I punched the whole piece with a 10. So all of this is a 10. And then I flipped my work. So these are my back stitches. So you can see the incredible height definition I get. And imagine if I had punched all this in an 8, what kind of height definition I'd get. So flipping your work gives you this ultimate kind of carved out effect that I really enjoy. So this means I've got a section on this back where my loops are. So it takes a little bit of finesse and maybe not, you know, for your first project, don't go flipping your work. But this is really fun. And once you start doing it, you'll find that you feel every piece needs a little bit of this raised effect. I really enjoy that. So let's look again at our chart. So to remember, the smaller the number, the higher the loop. So our 8 is our tallest, where our 14 is our shortest. And then we have all of our Oxford needles. Fine does not mean fine line until you get down to these little guys. People often ask about the color of my needles. These are cherry. For a while, Amy did different woods, and so I have this lovely cherry set. Now, another fun needle out there is the Craftsman needle. It is, this is an antique. The Craftsman needle's gone by many names over the years. It's currently going by the name Craftsman. This one is from the 30s, and it went by the name Lee back then. You can find Minerva ones as well, but it's all the same needle. And the older ones, what's super fun is it has the thinner, so again, the fine for my finer yarns that I can put in. And now, this guy is not fun to thread. It's not easy to thread, but the fact that I can do a 1-inch loop of this is super fun, and it's adjustable. Now, my needle, and it is not just the fact that it's an older needle, this little lock that allows me to change the height is temperamental. And I'll be punching along, and then all of a sudden it moves and my punch moves. So what I do is say I've decided I'm gonna, punch at this height, I'll wrap a little piece of duct tape right around here. So I do enjoy the Craftsman needle. If you can find them on eBay, the older ones, or you can find the new ones under the name Craftsman. They are fun to work with. They're just a little challenging to thread, and this locking mechanism is a challenge. There's other adjustable needles out there, I know, especially some newer ones. I haven't used those, so I can only talk about the Craftsman because that's the one I've used. Now, there's some what I'd call bargain needles, entry-level needles. A punch needle rug hooking is having a revival, so there's a lot of people that have decided to design their own needles. This guy was purchased at Hobby Lobby for about $6. It requires this threader. So, you put the threader in, put your yarn in, you yank it through, and then you thread it through. So although you might think, oh, this would be great to get for a child would really, cost-wise, a child would struggle with this part. So if you just wanted to try out punch needle, go for this and try it. But this is a little sticky. I don't know why. The metal isn't very smooth, so it doesn't punch as smoothly. But, sometimes this might be the only thing you get or you've found, and go ahead and play with it. It's always fun to try new things. But just know if you find it frustrating, that there are other options out there. And the needles that require these threaders, again, if you want to play with that, go for it. But I would recommend needles that have, the open channel. So, the Oxford needle is so well designed. And also knowing that it's made here in the United States, since that's where I live, I appreciate that. And because I studied with Amy Oxford, of course, these needles have a special significance to me. She really put a tremendous amount of thought into the design of this needle, the ergonomics of it. I especially love that it's wood, and to know that they're all made here in this country. I appreciate that. So I'm always going to grab my Oxford needle first, but that does not mean I will not try other needles. So that is my overview on punch needles. Thank you.